Welcome to Justice with Jack. Today's courtroom case left the entire country speechless. A billionaire publicly humiliated an old janitor, calling him useless before firing him in front of hundreds of employees. But less than 24 hours later, the same billionaire stood frozen inside a courtroom after discovering the janitor secretly owned the company he thought belonged to him. Richard Blackwood was one of the richest businessmen in America. He believed money gave him the right to control everyone around him. Every employee feared his anger because one mistake could cost them their job. Kindness was something Richard considered a weakness. Every morning, an old janitor named Daniel Hayes quietly cleaned the company's floors before sunrise. Most employees ignored him because of his old clothes and simple appearance. They had no idea Daniel carefully watched everything happening inside the company every single day. One busy morning, Richard accidentally slipped on a wet floor near the entrance. Furious, he blamed Daniel without asking what had happened. In front of everyone, Richard shouted, "You're too old, too slow, and completely useless. Get out of my company before I throw you out myself." The entire office became silent. Some employees lowered their heads in embarrassment, but nobody dared defend Daniel. Instead of arguing, Daniel calmly placed his mop against the wall and quietly replied, "Sometimes respect is worth far more than money." Richard laughed and ordered security to remove him immediately. Daniel walked away without looking back. Before leaving, he smiled gently at the receptionist and thanked her for always treating him with kindness. Nobody understood why he looked so calm after losing his job. Richard proudly believed he had taught the old janitor a lesson. The next morning, Richard arrived at the courthouse expecting an easy legal victory. He had filed papers to permanently ban Daniel from entering the company's property. Reporters filled the courtroom because everyone expected another billionaire to defeat a powerless old worker. As Judge Jack entered the courtroom, everyone stood. Moments later, Daniel walked inside, wearing an elegant black suit instead of his janitor uniform. The entire courtroom fell silent. Even Richard looked confused. The old janitor no longer looked like an ordinary worker. Daniel calmly introduced himself as the original founder and legal owner of the company. He explained that years earlier, he had stepped away from public life and secretly observed how the business treated its workers. The courtroom exploded with whispers as everyone tried to understand what was happening. Daniel handed Judge Jack the original ownership papers, trust agreements, and company records. Experts carefully examined every document and confirmed they were authentic. Richard's confident smile slowly disappeared as he realized the old janitor he had insulted was actually the true owner of the entire company. Richard's lawyers quickly claimed the documents were fake. Judge Jack immediately ordered an independent forensic team to examine every signature and seal. After hours of investigation, the experts confirmed that Daniel's documents were genuine. The courtroom became completely silent as Richard's confidence began to disappear. Daniel then revealed that he had spent months working as a janitor on purpose. He wanted to see how employees were treated when they had no power or money. While many workers showed kindness, Richard repeatedly humiliated cleaners, guards, and receptionists without showing any respect. A former company accountant stepped forward as a witness. He testified that Richard had secretly transferred millions of dollars into fake companies under his own control. He also presented bank records proving that company money had been stolen for years without anyone noticing. Security camera footage was shown on the courtroom screen. It clearly captured Richard insulting Daniel, shouting at employees, and forcing security guards to remove him from the building. The video quickly spread across social media, and people across the country were shocked by Richard's behavior. Richard desperately tried to defend himself, claiming everything was a misunderstanding. But Judge Jack reminded him that respect is measured by actions, not excuses. Every lie Richard told only made the evidence against him even stronger. Daniel then surprised everyone once again. Instead of asking for revenge, he announced that every honest employee would keep their job. He promised to increase salaries, improve working conditions, and treat every worker with dignity, no matter what position they held. The courtroom erupted into applause. Employees who had once ignored Daniel lowered their heads in shame. Many realized they had judged him by his appearance instead of his character. Some even walked over and sincerely apologized for never standing beside him. Judge Jack officially ruled that Daniel Hayes was the lawful owner of the company. Richard Blackwood was found guilty of financial fraud, document manipulation, and abusing his authority. Police officers entered the courtroom and placed Richard in handcuffs before leading him away. As Richard was escorted out, he looked back at Daniel with regret. Daniel calmly said, "Money can buy buildings, but it can never buy respect. The way you treat people always reveals who you truly are." Those words left the entire courtroom speechless. Judge Jack closed the case with a powerful message. Never judge someone by their clothes or their job. True greatness is shown through kindness, honesty, and respect. Daniel walked out of the courthouse as the rightful owner, while Richard lost everything because of his arrogance. Justice had finally been served.